In today's video, we're going to reveal the missing link in your muscle building nutrition plan for basketball and discuss one of the most common reasons why basketball players struggle so much to put on meaningful muscle mass. And in this video, we're going to go a little bit beyond just getting into a calorie surplus, because at this point, if you've seen any of my content, I have plenty of videos, an entire series on muscle gain here on the channel. And you'll know by watching those, to build muscle, you need to be eating more calories than you're burning or be in a calorie surplus. And you might be getting that part right, but this part we're gonna discuss today is one that often flies under the radar and can really sabotage any muscle growth progress. And this factor we're gonna discuss is actually your recovery. Because a lot of basketball players, the vast majority of basketball players and athletes in general, fall under the trap of just working super hard in that grind mentality, that no days off mentality, because they think they need to outwork the other guy and just constantly work and be in the gym without any rest to be able to progress as a basketball player. And I get it, it makes sense. In theory, yes, you do need to work hard. You do need to work out often and train often and outwork your opponent, but there's a point of diminishing returns. And once you pass that point, your hard work can actually come back to bite you and really hurt you in the long run. So your recovery matters big time. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna go over some really easy tactics that you can implement right away to improve your recovery. So make sure you stick around till then. But first, we gotta go over why recovery matters so much. And a really easy way for you to understand this is to think about a very simple equation. Stress plus recovery equals adaptation. Stress in our situation would be training, your workouts, whatever you're doing to try and get yourself going in the right direction to create that stimulus. That's a stress. The adaptation is the result we're trying to achieve. In your case, right now, you're trying to put on weight, you're trying to gain muscle mass. That middle part though, recovery, is the missing link like we we're just talking about. And without recovery, you're not gonna maximize your adaptation. Just look at the equation. Stress plus recovery equals adaptation. If you don't maximize that recovery component, you're never gonna maximize the adaptation component, and you're gonna run into issues with plateaus and just getting stuck for weeks, months, sometimes years on end. Sometimes basketball players never figure this out, and I don't want that to be you. So really understand, take a look at that equation, get to know it, and remind yourself of that often. Because really when you train, you're breaking muscle down. You're in a catabolic state. To go into an anabolic state, you have to recover. To build and actually gain muscle, you have to recover. And recovery, like sleep or just taking off days, that's when the actual growth happens. The training is necessary 100%. You can't just sit around and expect to gain muscle mass, but without that recovery from the training, you're not going to actually build muscle in the long run, and you're gonna hit plateaus. Additionally, if you overtrain yourself and just neglect recovery, you're gonna run into more injury issues, more illness issues, and when you're sick or hurt, you're not able to train, you're not able to get that stimulus, and thus your muscle growth is going to stop. So in order to put on meaningful muscle mass and just get better, and this goes for fat loss too, in order to do those things, you need to be able to be in the gym and get the most out of your time in the gym. And if you work so hard and don't recover to the point where you get hurt and you actually have to take an extended time off, you're not going to maximize that progress. Because really, to see improvements and gain muscle, you gotta train hard, you gotta train often, but not so often that you hurt yourself and actually have to take an extended time off, because that's just not gonna be a good look. From both a muscle building perspective and also just a basketball perspective. If you can't train and you can't play, or you're hurt when your team needs you, it's not gonna be a good look. So please keep this in mind. It is super important. Now, how can we maximize recovery? What are some things you can do to really make sure you're able to train hard, you're able to get into the gym often, but also be able to withstand that training and not end up in a situation where you're overtrained and have to be forced to take some time off? How do we do that? First things first, just eat enough food. That's a very simple one. If you're under eating, that is also a stress on your body, and that stress is gonna compound. So let's not do that, especially if your goal is muscle gain. You can't be under eating. You're not gonna be in a calorie surplus. So make sure you're in that surplus. That's the first thing you can do to make sure your body's in a place to recover from training session to training session. And like I said, moving past the nutrition side of things in this video, another really important thing to do is just take one day off per week. You don't have to train 7 days a week, nor should you. Take time off, get some extra sleep, do things you enjoy. That is going to help you big time. Work really hard the other 6 days of the week, but that 7th day, make sure you relax, give your body an entire day to recover. Sure, go outside for a walk, get some movement in, but don't kill yourself in the gym working out super hard on that 7th day, because then you're just gonna go into that following week feeling beat up and tired, and that compounds. And at a certain point, you're gonna have to be forced to take time off, because your body's just going to be injured and hurt. So let's not get to that point, and be proactive about it and take one day off per week. And on that day off, do something you enjoy. Do something that is not related to the game of basketball. Sure, you could watch film technically if you really want to, go ahead, but I would really encourage you to physically and mentally take time off from the game. Play some video games, read a book, going out with friends, whatever. Just stay away from basketball and training on that day so that way you can go into that next week and hit it just as hard as the last one. And that way you string together week after week, month after month of consistent hard training. And that's how you end up putting on really meaningful amounts of muscle mass. And then perhaps the biggest component of recovery and really taking advantage of this and putting yourself in the best position to maximize muscle growth and fat loss for that matter is sleep. Sleep is massively important, and so many basketball players struggle with it or just choose to ignore it. And that is not a smart look from a muscle growth perspective, fat loss perspective, and just overall performance perspective. So I actually have a whole playlist on the channel going over how you can maximize sleep and really take advantage of it. So I'm going to toss it up on the screen right now. Make sure you go check that out, and also drop a like on this video if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate that. And with that, I'll see you in that next video.